All right, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. So, been a few changes to the deck, not necessarily changes that are going to stay. I wouldn't say these are locked in, but they felt pretty good so far. So we'll see. One of the changes is there's a few cards that I've been kind of back and forth on. Those cards are the Orcish Bowmasters and Shieldred. I've attempted to use these cards in the past. They both kind of made their way back into the deck. Also added Graven Cairns. At one point I had two basic swamps and a mountain. One of the basic swamps became, I had two basic swamps, a mountain, and Graven Cairns. Graven Cairns came out and became Mount Doom, and then Graven Cairns gravitated back into the deck and replaced the basic swamps. That's where we're at with our lands. But if it feels like we need more basics, then, and I'm not sure 4 is really right, then I might just cut the Cairns over the Doom and throw another swamp in there. Mountain Doom, incidentally, is worded so sadly. Unfortunately, this ping isn't to any target, which really would have been nice at 3 mana plus a tap. So for 4 mana to ping a target would have been pretty darn fair and a good control card. This 7 mana card is a sorcery and hems me up constantly. I constantly think, like, why would a 7+1 8 mana activation ability be a sorcery speed restriction? It's frustrating, but unfortunately it is, which means that I've lost a couple games with this card because the board was bad. I was going to sacrifice Mount Doom, choose no creatures because it's up to 2, and then just wipe the board and like maybe kill my One Ring or whatever, to stop taking damage, and then found out, whoops, can't activate. So anyway, you won't see any of that today. Meanwhile, other changes that I've added are this card here, Invoke Despair. This has been on my radar since they banned it in Standard, and because they ban it, when they ban a card, I always want to take a look at it in any format and say, if that card's banned there and not in Commander, should it make its way into my deck? Is it good enough? The jury's still out on this one, but it feels pretty good. Just the fact, it's a draw 3 at times, but it kills triple permanents, including enchantments and planeswalkers. And enchantments and planeswalkers are 2 of the harder or more scary, I guess, permanents to leave into play sometimes with this deck. Black, of course, and red both have difficulties removing enchantments, and planeswalkers are just notoriously difficult to remove. So having that ability is really nice. In this deck, we do have already got Feed the Swarm to kill an enchantment, and we have the old trick where you can what's it called? Liquid Metal Torque. You can torque an enchantment or a planeswalker and then kill it with like an Abrade. And of course we have Ugin as well, but having additional effects like that can be pretty nice. Now cuts, actually cut Fiery Confluence feels correct. It's the thing is, it's so much easier to make multiple black mana than it is to make double red in this deck. Chandra being a mana source and removal and card advantage in a deck that's about having mana removal and card advantage makes sense, but Fiery Confluence sometimes was a little clunky, and sometimes sweeping the board and killing your own creatures isn't the best. Killing artifacts is phenomenal, and then the damage is pretty meh because you can't target planeswalkers with it or creatures or whatever, so you can only go face. So the card, I don't want to downplay. The card's great. It doesn't feel like I've missed it all that much. We've got so much artifact removal. It just feels like it's okay as is. And another cut was Umezawa's Jitte. I don't love it, and Shieldred is basically in that spot because you do need one way to gain life in this deck, as you'll see. But I don't know if Shieldred's reliable enough then versus Jitte. I don't know if cutting it is correct. I've also played around with this card Shadow Spear, which you can fetch with Urza's Saga. And the reason that matters is if you have Saga, you can make a big robot and then fetch the Shadow Spear, equip the robot, and swing in. So that's kind of how you gain your life back with that. But the problem with Shadow Spear is when you don't have a big robot, if you aren't like equipping a sword onto something, and outside of Shieldred, or maybe a trick with like Karn and making your Thran Dynamo a creature or something. So outside of those cases, we don't really have like any creatures to put it on. I mean, maybe BMC can provide a 3/2 that can start gaining 4 life at the cost of 3 life, so we're just gaining 1 per turn. And when you look losing mana crypt flips and stuff, I think this card might just be a little too slow. On the other hand, Shieldred, most of our card advantage spells are not card draw, but we do have some. So we have Call of the Ring, which you just pay 2 life to draw, pay 2 life to gain 2 life. Black Market Connections, you pay 2 life to gain 2 life, and Tevesh Zot, not being pay any life, but potentially allowing you to gain anywhere from 4 to 6 life in one shot with this card into play is pretty good. And of course you have your draw phase, so you gain 2 life per turn as well. And then dinging your opponent can be good because other decks also use their life total as a resource, and as well as there are decks that just want to like Time Twister and Wheel of Fortune and stuff. And between that and Orcish Bowmasters, you have the potential to just punish them pretty hard for doing that. And making it quite difficult for them to, they have to deal with your board before they can win. And anything that slows them down and gives you more time to deal with their mana so you can keep them off their game-winning plays is usually pretty good. So that's all I'm going to say about that. There's some of these changes, again, we're kind of filling them out. I believe the One Ring was already in the deck in the last video. If it wasn't, that also has been in addition to the deck. I don't think I need to talk much about it, other than the fact that the One Ring will not save you from a mana crypt flipped, something that my brain tricked me on. Somehow I thought that I would have protection long enough to flip crypt on the next upkeep. No, that doesn't work. And it also does combo very nicely with Shieldred as well. It's another way we can draw cards, and then in fact, that's a combo that's already been used in other formats. Basically, you get Shieldred out, you tap the One Ring, and you gain 1 life for each card that you draw, rather than losing 1 life for each card that you're on your burden counter. Because you're going to gain 2, and then you're going to lose 1 from the burden, right? So you're gonna draw 4 and gain 8 life, and then during your upkeep you're going to lose 4 life. And then you're going to draw 5 and gain 10 life, and then during your upkeep you're going to lose 5 life, and then so on and so forth. So you end up coming up 1 ahead, provided Shieldred stays in play. As soon as Shieldred leaves play, the One Ring will quickly catch up in damage. So, is there enough life gain in here? Do we need more? Should Jitte come back into the deck, for example? Like maybe we leave Shieldred in and then we just throw Jitte back in just because we want a little bit of redundancy, and it's real scary not to have him as Jitte in this deck. That's yet to be seen. But for now, let's run through some games. And most of these games are going to be played against Jock Nerds. So I may not make this video public. It's going to be up to him. But I will at least run through them. So he's a friend of the channel, actually a friend of mine and friend of Brian's as well. And is in a little bit of a playtest group with us. And has never played Magic Online. So you're going to literally watch his first game of Magic Online. So he makes mistakes with the interface, which hurt him in games. However, there's some mistakes in these games that are just play errors, and I think it's good to always review things and look for, what could have been done better, and what's clearly an interface issue. And you will see that despite that, over the course of 10 or 11 games here, he managed to pull 2 wins out against me. I did make, I think, a few mistakes throughout this, and so as we're talking about errors, I'll try to point mine out as well. And there was definitely some luck back and forth, but I think these games are going to be very entertaining, as you'll soon see. Far more entertaining than the win rate would have you believe. And then after that, I'll just pop into these last few. I think actually I may just cover this last game specifically, so you can see Shieldred in action. All right, so let's talk game 1 against Jock Nerds, and then I'll just try to list them as game 1 through whatever, so I don't lose my place, hopefully. And all of the games will be played against the same commander. His chosen commander is Minsc and Boo. So this is a no joke kind of battle. And my opponents won the die roll, which is always a nightmare if you're facing Minsc and Boo. Obviously this hand's 100% a keep. Going first, I'm feeling amazing by it, right? Like I'll go Badlands into Soul Ring into Skull Clamp, play the commander and clamp it potentially, or hold the commander and then run out Jeska's Will and generate tons of mana and cards next turn. Looks pretty good. Anyway, I'm going second, but still, I mean, this is an amazing. It's a turn 2 Tevesh hand, if I want it to be. It's just great. It's got speed, it's got reload. This is what we want to see. Opponent leads on Taiga with a Haywire Might. Fantastic, fantastic card. I think if you're in green, because you're going to put Urza's Saga into every deck. So if you're in green, Saga is basically Soul Ring. The 2 cards always go in every deck, unless you're doing something wrong. And Haywire Might's just a great card. If you're in green, it's a solution you can tutor up with Saga. So you should always run it, and it's also an early way to deal with the Soul Ring, which, here presents me with a bit of a challenge, right? Do I want to run out the ring and do what I was talking about and then let him kill a card of his choice? I'm not sure that I do. Now, pay attention to the hand size over here. He went first, and he's down to 3 cards in hand. So because of that, I'm going to go ahead and just waste the Taiga here rather than deal with this and hope that my opponent's hand is somewhat weak. Maybe his next play is like a land or a mountain or something. Maybe he's got like a green. Maybe his hand is mostly green cards, and he just, I've stranded them in his hand, and I can buy a ton of time here. Anytime your opponent's that far behind in cards, attacking their mana is, almost always good, right? No luck as far as slowing him down goes. Gets got 2 cards in hand, but Llanowar Elves, City of Brass could easily just play Minsc and Boo next turn, and Minsc and Boo is such a massive and scary threat that you want to do almost anything that you can do to keep that sucker off the table, because game chances of winning go way down as soon as it hits. Also, my Jeska's Will's gotten fairly, somewhat weaker, like quite a bit weaker perhaps. So I'm just going to run out the Tomb here and then do like the Soul Ring Clamp play, I believe. And the reason I'm doing that, he's tapped out, he can't hear where I might right now, and with the 1 floating, there's always a chance that I can draw something I can cast here. So let's go ahead and just do this and see what we get. If I didn't get that and I got like a 0 drop, I could have just replayed Rog with the extra mana, but unfortunately, I get a 6 drop and a by force, which will kill Might, but I think the Might's going to be off the board soon, right? He's going to kill my Soul Ring more than likely. Actually, he by forces, exiling Kogla and Yudaro, a very, very interesting card in my view. It's a card I think I recommended for this deck because of it combos very well with Natural Order as a target if you need to kill something, and it's reusable card advantage disenchant otherwise, and of course just a big thing that you can close the game out really quickly with. So pretty neat card, but here it's just Force of Vigor fuel, and I think that here, regardless of, he may have been thinking that he wanted to wait and see what I was going to do with my mana and pick the best targets for his Force of Vigor, but I think this is probably the first mistake of the match, because had he Force of Vigored in response to clamping the Rog, I would still have a Rog, but I would lose these 2 because the clamp would never go on him, and I would have 2 less cards in my hand, and I think that's way more valuable than waiting to see what I get there. I think that doesn't make any sense at all. You definitely, he just gave up 2 cards to give after giving me 2 cards rather than punishing. And if you take a look, like, I'm actually in a really bad spot because my opponent just played Soul Ring basically, and now has the ability to play Minsc and Boo off this freaking mulligan with no cards in hand. Just ripped the Soul Ring off the top effectively, and I have no realistic way to kill it because I clamped Rog, so I can't intent here. And after thinking for a while, the only play that I have that it makes a lick of sense in this situation, unfortunately, really is just to play Rog and then hope that I can let him get the Minsc and Boo down, right? And hit me with whatever, and then go ahead and just clear it off, and then hope that I can keep him suppressed after that. So he goes for an M&B here, comes into play, and he pluses it up. Makes sense. It's going to get in for some free damage, pressure my face. All of this makes plenty of sense. So I do have a very intriguing play on this turn, though, and that is, well, you'll see. So I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to tutor. I'm not going to will or any of that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to upkeep. During upkeep, we're going to let the Minsc and Boo trigger resolve itself, so that he doesn't get it. He can. So he has to. Okay, so we're past that. So there's going to be no boos popping into play now. And before we move on, and he gets into his main phase with all that mana and cards, I'm going to go ahead and just smoke his board. Thank you, Fire Covenant, for being an instant. And then this, unless he finds something with haste or trample, I think it has to be haste or trample. This also will prevent him from adding counters to Minsc and Boo, at least until next turn. So, all right. And then from there, he of course he can't do anything at all. So now I just get to City of Traders at Guild of the Lotus into play, tutor, grab myself a Shieldred Edict, my opponent. He taps City of Brass, plays Veil of Summer in response. However, if an opponent is caster black, you and target and permanents you control gain hexproof. But Shieldred's Edict says each opponent sacrifices a planeswalker, so we're completely safe from that. And yeah, main deck Veil of Summer, that's another nasty thing to worry about in his deck. So he still loses the M and B there, and then from there, from there he draws a Mana Crypt, and the last card in his hand's a Bloom Tender. So he's actually almost back to Minsc and Boo Cherry. Imagine if that had been like Wheel of Fortune. Anyway, fortunately, of course, we've got all this covered, so we'll go ahead and maybe not all of it, but we've got most of this covered, I should say. So we'll go ahead and kill that and that. Pass for the turn. Opponent's down to 2 mana, and then with 2 mana under a statue, he has 0 mana effectively, and his best 0 mana card's gone, other than maybe a Lotus. And from there, he goes ahead and scoops it up. Of course, Tevesh comes down. I start drawing tons of cards, and obviously that game will end. He's actually interested in playing this evening, so we're going to move on. Unfortunately, I am working on a video, so we're going to move on to game 2. A video with you in it, man. All right. So game 2, again, Minsc and Boo, and this time I get to go first, and I have a pretty fast hand. So I'm going to be careful here. I'm going to sequence my cards correctly. I want to play Rog first, and then play Mox Amber. And the reason for doing it in this order is because I want to make sure the Amber can tap for mana before I pass priority. Because if I play the Amber and then pass, and he has a instant speed artifact kill, then I don't get any mana from the card. So we'll go ahead and do this. Unfortunately, I am opening myself up to just losing even more permanence to the card, but And I've got this Chrome Mox, but if you can in fact imprint a Ugin, because it's not an artifact, but you'll get 1 mana of any of the card's colors, and that will be no color, and therefore you'll get no mana. It does not produce colorless. And turn 1 Minsc and Boo. Oh god. So I thought it was doing great. I was doing great, but here he makes a play that I think is incorrect. I think the first thing you do is you plus. I think you made the correct play last game. You plus blue, you smack me in the face, and then from there you threaten to gain tons of card advantage. This is not horrible because he is turning off the Mox Amber and drawing a card, and he is going to get his creature back, and he has raised the effigy to kill my Liquimental Torque, which means he's severely crippled my mana. So I would say I don't agree. I don't agree with this. I'll tell you why I don't agree with this. The problem with him making all these plays is that he gave up 4 cards next turn. Right? He got 1 card, so he lost. He's down 3 cards next turn. But he also gave up a Lotus Petal and a Raise the Effigy to just take out a Torque. So I hemmed to Torque rocked him with this thing, right? So he's also thrown away a Lotus to get the Minsc and Boo. So he's down 3 cards to my 1. And while this is off, that's only temporary. But he's down 3 cards to my 1 and 3 potential cards. So he's down like 6 cards right now. So I don't really like this line all that much. I do understand the thought process behind it, though. Unfortunately for him, I have Rog. Unfortunately for me, I don't have anything to imprint my Chrome Mox on just yet. We'll get there. But I'd really like one next turn so I could play my commander. Or some removal for Minsc and Boo would be delightful. Here, the interface, I believe, bites him. He was somehow I think he did the right-click yield. Something. There's like a yield till end of turn or something, and he hit it and didn't know how to turn it off, and so he ended up getting hurt pretty bad by only getting a boo. I don't even know if he had a land drop there and he missed his land drop. It looked like we were going through the phases, but I can't tell for sure. Hopefully not. But it is a gift, obviously, if he did have play to make there. He certainly needed to plus this up and make that a 4-4. But anyway, with that, I'll take the gift, and I'm going to go ahead and play Tevesh and Ancestral immediately and find nothing. But because this isn't a 4-4, now he can plus it, but he can't kill Tevesh, right? So this is just bad news for my opponent here. He does plus it, plays a Delighted Halfling, a Rishadan Port, and takes Tevesh to 1. I draw Hatred, which is huge because I'm slowly losing the game to Minsc and Boo, but this gives me an alternate win condition that I might be able to pull off. In the meantime, though, I have 6 mana, and I usually like to make a creature with Ugin, but here, let's just get rid of that. I can play a 0 casting cost Skull Clamp, which goes great with 2/0/1. And now I have blockers for Ugin. However, this is trample. I mean, I'm not going to be able to stop that. Opponent has a dash rag, but having the blockers for the rag here when I shouldn't, and having a Tevesh when I shouldn't, is, massive, right? Because he's got to swing into Tevesh here, and he swings at it at Ugin, and so I'm going to go ahead and block and let Tevesh die. But now I have an Ugin, and that's not great if you're him, right? So we'll go ahead and make a 2/2 that has a black market connections. That 2/2 is like really in the know on things there. I'm going to go ahead and waste his port. I just don't want him to even have choices there. Again, he didn't stop during my upkeep and tap a card. This is also potential interface error, not player error there. We'll go ahead and get Rog down. The reason that I'm playing Rog here and not playing Dynamo is because I'm stupid. And I completely forgot that Ugin makes Dynamo 2 mana, because I've been playing Hearthstone recently, and in that game, if your cards are discounted in your hand, they actually reflect the price, and I just had a senior moment there. I was like, oh no, it's 4. So I could have spent 2 mana to play this thing, and then tapped 3/4 and played, and still played the turn the same way that I intended, right? Like, I could have played all the rest of the turn the same way. I would have just had more mana in play. Could have played maybe Guild Artisan or something, so oopsie. Hopefully it doesn't cost me. I'm going to try to suppress his green there. It's a command tower, so that was not very effective. It's a Curse of Opulence, but again, well, and then swings into Ugin, and once again, having this extra token, look at this. Now Ugin goes to 1 counter instead of 0, and because of that Tevesh turn. So that turn just hurt him so bad. And we actually talked about it, and I offered to play as though Tevesh was dead, but we realized it was going to be kind of awkward to try to figure out how to do that, because what if I want to replay it from the command zone? So he said, don't worry about it, mistakes. He's got to learn the interface, and it's just going to happen, right? And now I think you see how this is going to go. But yeah, now then I finally remember, oh wait, Dynamo's 2 mana. Fortunately, I wasn't totally crazy there. So I'll go ahead and just play the Artisan and swing in, make a couple of things there, and Hatred, bang, die. And opponent takes 21 and bites it. All right, so we go into the next game. That was game 2, I believe. We'll go into game 3. You'll see his revenge coming soon. All right. And insane hand, right? We were slam keeping this, no problem. I'm even going first. Gross. And he concedes. He mulliganed to 5, and then I'm not sure why he scooped, but I guess he just didn't like his 5, or he wasn't thinking he could win if he mulliganed to 4, and Minsc and Boo absolutely can. Now, of course, with this hand, I'm favored extremely heavily, but, yeah, he could have still won from there. So I think that was I don't know what that was. It wasn't the best choice, maybe. Anyway, so there's our first 4 games. Now we're going to get into me taking a big L, or a little L, depending on how I can't remember if this is the one where I really screwed up and threw it. All right, there's Minsc and Boo again. I've got, I mean, almost any hand with crypt is a good hand, but this hand with crypt, twist, him, feed, one ring, yeah, this is a very good hand. Unfortunately, I'm not going first. I would have easily gone cliffs, crypt, twist for 2 against my opponent's mulligan to 6, and then city Himyu prior to getting the one ring out, and then followed up with the one ring, because by then I would have ripped so many cards out of his hands, the chances of him recovering would be very close to 0. And the best thing he would have been able to do from there would have been either might have even been to play like an elf or something, which then gets fed to the swarm. But I'm going second, so and he's got a pretty quick start, which is really what that deck specializes in. And a Ragavan, turn 1 rag. Ouch. Please don't be something good. It is, but it's not castable, so I'll take it. But now he's got turn 2 Minsc and Boo showing up over there. So he's got 3 cards in hand. I can take 2/3 of his hand right here, or I can swing in with rag and like cross my fingers and hope to find artifact removal or something. I just decided to go for, let me take out 2/3 of your hand and hope I get your Ragavan. More importantly, though, I'm hoping I get whatever mana he's got, and I do. I get Unholy Heat and a Misty Rainforest, so really glad to see it. And then I've got Rog, right? Remember, so that Ragavan's, if he dashes Ragavan, he's not getting a card this turn. And now he's down to exactly 2 cards in hand. This is just riding the fine edge of danger, right? Oh, Rampage, so good. Now I know that if he gets his commander out, he can not, like, I can kill it immediately. So I'm going to take a turn off from him here. I know it's not a land because he would have played it. So it's Ragavan. It's 2 spells and one of them's Ragavan. But Ragavan doesn't do a lot when you have the one ring in play, at least the turn you play it, because you have protection from everything. So from here, I want to go ahead and draw a card immediately and hope to find, like a Wasteland or something. But more importantly, I'd like to find some more mana. I want to make sure that I'm continuing to develop. I do. I find Mount Doom. He gets a Talisman of Impulse, places Rag, and passes for the turn. So now he's threatening Minsc and Boo. Of course, we're looking for a way to stop that if possible. During my upkeep, I'm going to take the damage, then I'm going to tap so that I draw 2. I'm looking for a Vampiric Tutor, of course. Don't find it and draw. Dust Bowl is interesting, but is it really right to Dust Bowl here? It could be. If my opponent doesn't draw a land, then Dust Bowling here is absolutely correct. It's risky, though. I decide I'm not going to go with that play, I think. I'm just going to kill this thing, and I'm going to dash in with a rag and cross my fingers and hope that I hit a artifact removal spell. I do not. But even if I don't, it gives me more mana to deal with the Minsc and Boo and then push through the game. And the nice thing is here, what I'm expecting is he plays Minsc and Boo and hits me for some damage. If he doesn't have a land drop, he'll have 2 cards in hand, so I've set him up for a perfect him. He'll have sacked a treasure token, so he'll be down cards. And I've got Mount Doom in hand, so I can actually clear out the Boo later on. Plus, I've got Ragavan action and the one ring running, so I'm so far ahead that the best thing that can happen for me here is he just doesn't draw a land, makes a Boo, right, hits me for 4, and then that's it. And that's exactly what happens, which is beautiful. All right, so now upkeep, we're going to look for Vampiric Tutor. We don't find it. I just happen to remember that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and fetch. And him and my opponent has Deflecting Swat. And this is the turn I misplayed. Because throughout all this, if you notice, I did keep biting my tongue on the SWAT. So as I was playing the game, I sat here and thought, what's the only way I can lose this game? And the answer in my head was, the only way I can lose this game is if my opponent has Deflecting SWAT on this turn. So I said I have 2 decisions and 2 possibilities in my mind. One, I Dust Bowl him first, and then I Angerous Rampage him. 2, I just him him first, get the 2 cards out of his hand, and then Rampage him. And if I him him and he bounces it back with a swat, the swat's gone, and the odds are 1 in 7 and then 1 in 6 that I lose the Rampage. Like, they're pretty good odds that I don't lose the Rampage here. And even if I do, I could instead focus on hurting my opponent's mana and then making some punishing plays later. Like, I should still be able to get back into this game is what I'm getting at. So I take the risk, especially with the Ragavan, and I have the Mountain Doom too, so I'll be able to kill this when it's too big and clean up the One Ring and stuff. I lose Rampage and him, and Skull Clamp. The way that I get back in the game without, killing myself with the One Ring is Clamp, and I just threw it in the garbage. So, yay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and just crush my opponent's mana, of course. That's what we do here. Take some damage here, and my opponent, of course, is searching for cards. And now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to Ragavan that thing down, and then I should be able to win the game. Opponent plays a Wrenn and 6, picks up a land. That's not good for me. But, actually, I'm doing okay. And here's an Imperial Seal. So I should be able to win this game now. So I'm going to dash in with Rag, of course. We're going to kill my opponent's mana now, I believe. What is going on here? I don't think I drew Imperial Seal this game. I think we're bugging out. Yeah, we're bugging out. That's unfortunate. I didn't draw Imperial Seal. That's not right. So what actually happens is I Ragavan down his Minsc and Boo and Dust Bowl him and have almost nothing else to do and pass. Of course, I stop using the One Ring. And over the course of the next few turns, draw nothing. Well, I don't stop using the One Ring. I use the One Ring to dig, right, for a solution. And over the course of the next few turns, I find no way to sacrifice the One Ring like Duretti. No tutors to go get life gain. And ultimately end up just dying to my own One Ring and Mana Crypt. And just I lose every coin flip, and I just can't win. And it was like an agonizingly frustrating game to have lost here. But I knew I lost it on the turn that I did not Dust Bowl him. Because if you're him and you have exactly one land in play and your opponent Dust Bowls you and you're holding a deflecting swat, you 100% swat that, right? And I did not care or need the land at all. And I knew that was the play. But I went against my instincts and just threw away the game. And he played well and beat me. So we'll move on to the next one. Just painfully stupid move there. It was so greedy to him. I just had the Dust Bowl and tap whatever he targeted, get the mana back, maybe I lose the Dust Bowl, whatever, who cares. Blow away his whole board, win the game on the spot. Just, painfully stupid. Anyway, in this game, who's going first? I'm going first, and this is a clear mulligan, and I am a big idiot and just don't mulligan at all. Yeah, so I still, at the time I was using Shadow Spear instead of, for exactly the reason that we discussed, but I was using Shadow Spear instead of Sheoldred, and I drew Shadow Spear on the turn that I perished. I actually ended up getting control of that game. Of course, I had the One Ring going, but no way to gain life and just died. Frustrating. All right, anyway, and if I recall, I had Mountain Doom, right? But I had Mountain Doom, but I'm trying to remember what happened. Oh, but I made the mental error. I always think Mountain Doom can be used as an instant. So I played Mountain Doom and then didn't use it, and then just died to the One Ring. So that was the other completely idiotic play. Now, speaking of idiotic plays, this is not a keep with this hand. This hand is not a keep at all. This is incredibly dangerous and risky to try to keep. Just because I got turn 1 Bowmasters, what is that going to do? I have no disruption here, no removal. Opponent has Shattering Spree. I'm going to float some mana. I'm not even going to play the Bowmasters because, you know, I'd like to try to get some value out of them. Sadly, because I don't play them, I now don't have extra things to eat here. But, you know, hey, let's just draw 2 cards and no mana. All right. I do find a land there. I'm going to just sit on the Bowmasters for now. But he's getting closer and closer to Minsc and Boo. Goes for a Tangle Wire, which, you know, I have an Abrade for. I think that actually abrading this here, in hindsight, honestly, and probably even not in hindsight, I think abrading here is a mistake because the Tangle Wire will lock him down and buy me tons of time. What I should have done was played my Bowmasters. Then I could have tapped Bowmasters, Creature, Skull Clamp, and pretty much anything like maybe the Confluence, and then tap the Workshop and slam a Winter Orb. And then I think I win the game. But instead, I'm going to destroy that and then slam a Winter Orb and then hope to win the game from there. And there's a good chance that I can, right? Like, look what I have. Sword of Feast and Famine, a Workshop, an Orc. This looks really good. Opponent plays a land here, and I just don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea what I'm doing this game. But I do manage to draw a Rakdos Signet here, so that's good. Now I can definitely play the Orcs. And he's got Grudge, so it doesn't matter. The Winter Orb plan probably wasn't going to work, but it's definitely not working now. And yeah, he just plays that. I go ahead and just ping it off in response. Now I can pressure Minsc and Boo a little bit, but I mean, I can actually, technically I can kill it. So we'll do that. But I mean, look at his mana. He's got 6, and I have no orb. So down it comes. Ooh. Instead, down comes Godfarrow's Statue. And now you're about to see me play very, very poorly, I hate to say. I'm actually in great shape here. The main thing I was afraid of was Minsc and Boo, and Minsc and Boo is not in play. And I have Sword, so I've got double the mana. So playing under the Statue isn't the worst, although it's not great. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and play Rog here. Untap all my mana. Because I play Rog because now I've got yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. Now I've got Guild Artisan down, and I can start generating an extra 2 mana to also assist with the GPS. My opponent has Claim there, so he kills a bunch of mana, and then he's got Settlers, which I'm actually, oddly enough, I'm not super afraid of the Settlers right now. He's down to no cards in hand. The only thing I was really afraid of there is Minsc and Boo. And I draw the Manic Tutor. So, of course, if he hadn't killed the freaking Sword right then, I could just tutor my way out from the Godfarrow's Statue. But now, I still have enough mana. All I have to do is tutor up. I can tutor for Daretti, would probably be a good choice, or something like that. But just about anything would be fine, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 using the drum. 6, 7 with this means that I can spend 4 on a tutor. I guess Daretti wouldn't work. It has to be like Vandal Blast. 4 on, a tutor. And then 1 on a Vandal Blast for the Statue. And then, yeah, you can kill anywhere from 2 to 3 of my lands next turn. And that's a bummer. But I won't be under the GPS. And I can start clamping my way into card draw and potentially just get Necro down and just do it that way. But I attack with everything here. I was so pissed at myself for doing this. And because I do it, I mean, he's making the classic, you know, just check. Can I block here? No, you can't. I end up having to sack a treasure token. I decide I'm going to hold off on the GPS. I'm just going to play Necro so that I can hit land drops consistently. But I can't pay for this Necro using the drum here. And that 1 mana that I don't have is going to completely hose me for basically the rest of the game. Alright, so here he's going to just play Minsc and Boo. I think he's correct to finally get it on the board here. That does give me an opportunity here. He doesn't swing in, which I think is wrong against the Necro, but I get it. He's trying to protect Minsc and Boo here. Alright, so I'm going to... and speaking of wrong, yes, I can tutor here and make a cute play where I play the Soul Ring, paying for the Workshop. But this is just so wrong. Kill the damn Godfarrow's Statue. Like, and I'm reviewing this and just like kicking myself. What am I doing? Kill the statue. Like, all I need to do is just kill the stupid statue. And then the game is mine. I have Necropotence into play. I'm going to win if I just kill the damn thing. Instead, I'm going to swing in, grab some treasures, and remember, I'm down a treasure, and once again, that's 2 treasures I threw away, because I'm going to do some pointless damage to Minsc and Boo, when instead, I could have used my Springleaf Drum. I'm down 2 mana sources there. I hate watching this game. It's so painful to watch this game. Oh, look, Shadow Spear. Not super impressed. All right. It's a professional face breaker. Breaks my face. It's a treasure token. And a Biforce. Brutal. And now, me being all cutesy with my options has made things very hard for me. I should have 2 more mana into play here. So I'm going to, intend. And finally blow the statue up. But I'm missing mana here. Because if I wasn't, I could have Dark Ritualed out Tevesh and then made 2 blockers. So I over Necro, looking to try to solve my situation. And hey, why not? Kill the Bowmasters. And yeah, I mentioned something about the treasures and I just scoop. I mean, I think I scoop. I don't know. I think we're bugging here. I don't quite recall this playing out this way, but bottom line is I take a metric boatload of damage here somewhere, and then after taking a ton of damage, he draws a bunch of cards because it's Minsc and Boo, and does even more damage to me. I have a Necro out. I'm no real way to gain life. Shadow Spear is not realistic life gain, and I can get the 1 ring down while he just continues to grow a threat, and I can stall for like exactly 1 turn, and then I can die. And that's basically what happens. I threw this game so hard, not having my commander in play right here, not killing the statue like, what was it, 5 turns ago or 3 turns ago or whatever it was. Horrible play. Anyway, but well played by my opponent. And the thing is, no matter how badly I play, if my opponent doesn't play basically as good as he can, as good as a player can, right? If he doesn't make the best or nearly the best possible decisions, a lot of times he's still going to lose. Fortunately, he's a good player and was able to capitalize on the fact that I gave him a way in to win the game. I handed him. I didn't hand him a win. I handed him the possibility to win, and he was smart enough to know how to take advantage of that. All right, so for the rest of the games here, so we'll take a look here. This is a nice, relatively fast hand. I am going first, which makes this hand a lot better. Yeah, I was still fuming at myself, and you'll see it in the comments. But I also mentioned to him that he played well, and he deserved the win that he earned. Here, imprinting a Force of Vigor under a Chrome Mox means his hand must be mostly red. It's severely weak. And boy, does that Mox look juicy for artifact removal. But he's got a Simeon Spirit Guide, so yeah, there's a lot of red there. He's got turn 1 Minsc and Boo. Oh boy. Okay, let's see what we can do. Obviously, we have some answers in hand. Well, top decking Dark Ritual was huge there. Which would make when you're holding Yawgmoth's Will, Dark Ritual's a card you definitely want to see. So first things first, let's get rid of Minsc and Boo. Well, let's get rid of Minsc. And he's got even more mana and Eulalia the Blade Reforged, which will be a growing problem, of course. Exiles a Carbloozen Forest. I'll take some damage. There's a lot of pressure on my life total. And right now I still have Shadow Spear in the deck. Freaking lame thing. Alright, so this isn't too bad here. Let's see what we can do. I'm going to Dark Ritual. I'm going to Angerous Rampage and have him sacrifice a creature. Then I'm going to go ahead and just Tevesh, and hold the will. Correction. And this thing doesn't have trample, so it is going to give him cards and grow and be a growing problem. But he's still 1 mana away from Minsc and Boo. And I do have an answer to that on board because I have Torque plus K-Command, right? So I'm going to just jump. He's got Torque now of his own and has, to finish it up, a Dynamo. Okay, well, no Doesn't have any removal now, but is going to have Minsc and Boo back running. And I top deck an amazing Calling the Weak. Huge. Obviously, there were a lot of great cards I could buy there, draw there. Plenty of them, like, Vandal Blast or something like that. But this will be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice Rog here before combat. And I'm going to not put him in the command zone. We'll play a Curse of Opulence on the opponent and swing in and get my mana back. And then go ahead and Calling the Weak. The Weak have been called. Float some mana with the Ancient Tomb. Yogg Will. From where we can now play a land. Dark Ritual. Replay Rog. Call. And we'll go ahead and Wooded Foothills here into a mountain. Right now I'm just needing some black mana. I'm going to tap for red. I'm going to go ahead and Edict my opponent, not using the red. And then I'm going to go ahead and have him sacrifice an artifact. And then with the 5 remaining mana, I'm actually going to cast Gilded Lotus and pass. Now why did I do it this way? Well, because my opponent now has exactly 5 mana plus 8 here. If my opponent draws a land, if I kill this right now and he draws a land, then he gets to play Minsc and Boo. I absolutely do not want Minsc and Boo coming down this turn. So let's play what often amounts to a Time Walk. Now you'll see my opponent make a interface error. So I'm going to token plus Lotus to get the mana to play K command, take the card out of his hand, and kill the Dynamo, which means even if he drew a land, it's hitting the discard pile, not play. And buys me lots of time, which is incredibly valuable with the setup I have. In response, he's trying to float the mana for Minsc and Boo, I think. Correction. He was trying to activate Kogla and Yadaro. So he could have discarded that in response and killed my Gilded Lotus and drew a card. Then discarded the card he drew. But still, that would have been a mite bit better if he killed the Lotus than not killing the Lotus, which is what happened here. And that was an interface error issue. I told him I'd go ahead and just play as though the Lotus is dead. However, he said no. He said, once again, he made the misplay. He'll deal with the consequences, and that's the only way, he's going to improve, which is a position I completely respect. So instead, we'll go ahead and just play. We're going to try to Ancestral into artifact removal or land removal. And I find neither of those things, so I'm going to go ahead and play Rog again, and then I'm going to go ahead and play nothing. So the reason I'm playing nothing is I play Liliana now and I plus it, and then he swings in with a Trampling Boo. I have to chump block. Now he's got incentive to just play. If he draws a land, swing in, hit Tevesh. Okay, cool. But then I can Ancestral again. I can attack, get my treasure, Ancestral, look for artifact removals so that I can torque his Minsc and Boo and then kill it, or and then Liliana away the Boo, basically. So I can torque the Minsc, Lily the Boo. So that's why I don't play anything here. And there's no point in exposing the Mox Diamond to like a Vandal Blast off the top if he doesn't draw land. And instead he draws Haywire Might, so he torques my Tevesh and now costs me an Ancestral basically next turn. Very nice. Brutal. But I still have the Gilded Lotus in play. So I draw for the turn, and I tell him that you can see I play as the Lotus dead, and I'm telling him that basically because I know this turn's going to be insane with the Skull Clamp and everything, or potentially has the potential to be nuts. But yeah, he assures me he prefers to play as though it's there. So yeah, I'm only going to ask a little bit, and then I'm just going to do as he wishes. So we'll go ahead and replay Tevesh here. Make some guys. Use the Workshop to play the Clamp with mana floating in case we find more artifact mana, so we can just keep going. I do. Freaking garbage Shadow Spear. I just don't. It's just not. The card does not make me happy in this deck. I thought it would, but nope, it doesn't. I don't ever find a second land despite having drawn, what was that, 5 or 6 cards for this Mox Diamond, which is just a little bit disappointing, but for that reason, I'm just going to go ahead and do this, and then now next turn when Rog attacks, I'll get 3 treasures, But my opponent only needs to draw mana to play his commander. Instead misses his commander and just plays Professional Facebreaker here. You can see where this is going, obviously. We're going to draw again and again. I get Invoke Despair. But I also get Shattering Spree. So I just make this into a creature. Target is Torque and his Professional Facebreaker. So now he needs to top deck like a mana Crypt or something. Like he needs 2 mana in a single card. A Lotus would do it, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's getting pretty impossible here, and I think he realizes that, and so he scoops it up. And we move on to the next game. I think that was the second game. All right, so we're going to go to the third game after the loss, after the 2 losses. Hopefully, I'll double check. All right, so he's going first this time. Hand is extremely not good here. I don't love it, but it has... However, opponent plays a lot of artifacts and artifact removal. I have the ability to swat artifact removal back to my opponent. I've got the potential for a Crucible, a very strong Crucible lock, maybe not lock, but you know, heavy disruption with it. And I also have a turn 1 duress. Plus, Death Cloud can potentially keep him off Minsc and Boo if the Crucible plan like stunts his growth, but he ends up getting, you know, basics. So for all those reasons, I decided I'm going to keep this fairly risky, you know, hand, and I top deck a sexy Soul Ring. So let's go ahead and just play Mox Diamond here and get that Soul Ring down. Well, excuse me, get that duress down. And I see this. So with the options being what they are, this is a weird one. I can take Crucible, which makes a ton of sense, given that I have a Wasteland Crucible of my own. But that leaves him with Chrome Mox. If he draws any spell that he can print on the Chrome Mox, then he can just play Minsc and Boo next turn. And I'm in a lot of trouble. But Swat sometimes can kill Minsc and Boo. You know, he sacks it, and then you just bounce the effect back onto Minsc. So with that in mind, I'm going to take the Crucible and focus on my game plan. Maybe I can get him into a situation where he has to sacrifice in order to, like, I'm mana screwing him, and then when he sacrifices, I bounce it back. He gets a handful of cards, but then it's going to take a long time before he can develop with a constant Wasteland running. So I'll take the Crucible and realizing that outside of like a couple cards, Lotus, Soul Ring, or whatever, even if he draws a spell that produces, well, out of specifically Lotus, Mana Crypt, even if he draws a card that produces colored mana for Chrome Mox, if I Wasteland here rather than Soul Ring and postpone my development, I'm actually in a much better spot. So that's the route I take, because he cannot slam Minsc and Boo. So we'll check this off from the known. I draw a Sulphurous Springs, which is really nice to see, obviously, because it lets me get the Crucible out this turn rather than next turn. And if you happen to have drawn Artifact Removal, I've got this very tempting Crucible with a Wasteland in the graveyard, right? He drew a land, so we know of a land, and we don't know if the last card is a spell or a land. If it's a spell, Minsc and Boo comes down, but it does not appear to be a spell, so I decide, rather than Wasteland locking my opponent, I'm just going to try to win the game instead. How about a Death Cloud for 2? We can take both cards out of his hand, the Chrome Mox and the land that I know he's holding now, kill both of these, leave him with just a Mox Diamond. I'm going to lose these, I'm going to lose a Swat, fine, whatever, and some lands that I don't care about at all because I have plenty of mana plus a Crucible in play. And so that's the route I'm going to take. Let's just win the game. Let's not mess around with Wasteland games. Because I know he's holding a land and a Chrome Mox, so if he draws a spell, if I Wasteland him here and he draws a spell, he can just Minsc and Boo, and I'm back to that problem. But by doing it this way, we got him. All right. So he draws for the turn, doesn't find any mana. I immediately put my Wasteland into play, draw Dark Ritual to add insult to injury. And, of course, play the commander. He's stuck. I get to play lands from Rog. I get to Ancestral, or rather Tidings. And how insane is that top deck? Land from the graveyard, going the week. Yeah, not even close, right? Get statued. And, I mean, we don't have to he sticks around for just, yeah, one more turn, and then obviously it's mega over, right? All right, so that was, I think, the third one. 1, 2, 3. I don't know if I may have skipped this middle one. I'm going to go back and check, and then we'll go to game 4. If I did skip this, we'll play it. I did skip this one. Yeah, I don't remember this one. But in this game, I am going second, but I have a hell of a hand, so obviously I'm going to keep. All right, we're going to go, and basically I'm not going to mess around with go turn 1 torque, turn 2 this. Imagine if I go turn 1 torque like that, and then he goes like natural, force of vigor, kills both of my artifacts, and then, I'm just set. It's a game of setback. Like, I'm way behind. We're going turn 1 Tevesh. If you can do that, you do that. Almost always. All right. He gets Sylvan Library out, which is a very problematic card, because now the card advantage I'm going to generate with Tevesh, he's going to be getting with Sylvan, and I don't have a lot of ways to pressure him. Sylvan's a great card to punish with the Orcs as well as Shieldred, but remember, Shieldred's not in this deck, so I only have the Orcs to punish the Sylvan right now. So, yuck. Draw a couple cards. I found a Call of the Ring. Very nice to see here. Of course, I get a Torque out. I'm just going to run these out. Had I drawn Artifact Removal, I'd just Torque that and kill it, but again, didn't find any. Go ahead and play the Call of the Ring here and pass. I'll leave the Torque up in case I need to turn something into an artifact for, I don't know, some reason. Alright, so he does not suck at the game and pays 8 life as he's supposed to. Plays an Orcish Lumberjack, and I thought, oh, that was a huge misplay, but no, I was just like, tricked you. Here's my Minsc and boo. Tricked you, boo. So before he gets the counter, I'm going to go ahead and rollock that away. It doesn't actually matter on the timing. The only thing that would have mattered is if he would have passed priority before he plussed, I would have killed it, and then he wouldn't have had an opportunity to plus because there's nothing to target, so it would actually be on 3 counters. But he's not going to make that mistake. Alright, so we're going to get tempted by the ring. Lovely stuff. And of course we're going to pay 2 life. Find a Karn, which is always nice. And I'm looking at it going, wait a minute, if he didn't have specifically that stinking Orcish Lumberjack and the Lotus Petal right there, which of course the Sylvan Library fed him cards, but if he didn't, then do you see the play here? It's really good. If he did not have the Orcish Lumberjack in play. The play would have been Torque Tevesh Zot, Karn Tevesh Zot, and make it an artifact, then Karn it, make it a creature, and then attack Minsc and Boo for 5. That would have been the play. But I don't have that option. So instead, I'm going to Ancestral and just look for an option to just Torque and kill this thing right now. And I don't find it. I do have a Ring Bearer, though, so I can attack and draw and discard, I believe. Am I on that phase yet? I might not be. What's going on here? Yeah, okay. So I go with a different route. I don't have that option here. So I go a different route. I deploy a ton of mana and I play Karn and I pass for the turn. And I don't attack with the Ring Bearer because I'm not on phase 2 yet, which would let me, it turns into a Merfolk Looter. What's really nice here is that if the Ring Bearer is killed, like let's say I need to chump block here or whatever, and then the Call of the Ring goes on the stack, I can flash in the opposition agent, which is another nice thing about having both agent and orcs, about having the flash creatures, is that you can flash in response and then target and make the thing a Ring Bearer and still get your card draw. So what I'm going to do is he's going to put the Creation of Boo on the stack. I'm going to immediately Torque this during his upkeep before he even gets the Boo. He now gets the Boo with his legendary artifact Planeswalker. Draws some cards here. And unless he can kill Karn, and hopefully he can't kill Karn, he wastes me. Yeah, he can attack with both in order to get his counter from the Facebreaker, but it doesn't even matter because it's just a... Well, it does matter in the sense that he can exile it to exile the top card of his library, but it doesn't matter in the sense that he cannot sack it for mana. It doesn't matter as mana because Karn's suppressing it. So he's going to go face here, which makes sense. Double face to get the treasure. That way on the next turn he can set the top card of his library up with Sylvan and then exile it, potentially, right? It gives him some choices anyway. I don't have to chump block with my Ring Bearer, which is nice, so I'll just go ahead and take the damage. And he's going to get his treasure. Or if he knew that the top card was like a Land War Elves or something, he could have just exiled it and then played the top card right away. All right, we're going to pay for this. And we're going to have a savage turn here. It's coming. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to kill that to prevent him from getting a free card there. And then I'm going to actually, I realize, oh, wait a minute, I've got a Merfolk Looter in play. So I'm going to send in my Merfolk Looter, basically. And I draw, dun, 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 this crazy tech card that's made its way into the deck, right? Invoke Despair. Partially because it's a huge assist in this specific match, but man, what a glorious board position this is to play this card. What a just a fantastic time to draw it. Like, what a night to have a curse. Poor opponent. So I'm going to invoke Despair from my opponent. And now the way this works is he has to sacrifice a creature, or he loses 2 life and I draw. Then he has to sacrifice an enchantment, or he loses 2 life and I draw. Then he has to sacrifice a Planeswalker, or he loses 2 life and I draw. And there's no may. He doesn't get to choose. He doesn't get to go, well, I don't want to sack a creature, but I do want to sack a... No, it's he must sacrifice each of these things, but if he doesn't have them, I get rewarded either way, which is the despair portion. So he loses Boo, Sylvan, and Minsc. Amazing. And I still have some mana floating, so if I want, I can continue to play. So I'm going to go ahead and play a land here. And I'm not even going to play around with it. I'm just going to go ahead and flash out the opposition agent now. And then during his upkeep, I'm going to torque his Orcish Lumberjack so he can't tap it for mana. And I've got 2 creatures plus an opposition agent to handle the Professional Facebreaker. At this point, my opponent's so far behind. Tevesh shots on 10. Unless he can push through and get in for damage, Minsc and Boo is mine. And from there, we win the game very easily. I thought that was just fantastic. And what a lovely addition to the deck. I don't know if it'll stay, but it was phenomenal there. And I'm glad that I went back. I thought for some reason we had reviewed that already, but we had not. So, yeah. All right, we've got 2 more against Jock Nerds, and then 1 against Aber, which was just crazy game as well. All right, and I've just got... He got to go first turn commander. I get to go first turn commander. You know, it's just kind of how it goes. Unfortunately, I don't have any black mana, so I can't do anything like... It'd be lovely if I could Dark Ritual... Thoughtseize, Commander, Imperial Seal my opponent or something crazy like that, and then draw 3 cards for the exact card that I want. I'm 1 black mana away from doing all that, but thanks for the Lotus. We'll still get the commander down, and then I'm really hoping, I'm just going to draw immediately and hope that I've got 1 floating, so if I can produce a black mana anyway at all here, this turn just continues. I don't, but the turn does continue. I get to play Soul Ring and my commander again, my other commander, you know, because the commander tax isn't shared like it should be between partners. He's got a pretty fast start. This is a little questionable. I'm not sure what he's doing with the Shaku. I like the Shaku in the deck. I'm just not sure what he's doing here with it, because turn 1 Vault, turn 2 Minsc and Boo beats anything, like beats this, unless he knows already that he's going to play turn 2 Minsc and Boo. So, unfortunately, of course, I'm still missing black, so I can't necessarily punish him for it. There's some black mana. So now I can take a look at his hand. I can Ritual, Inquisition, Thoughtseize. Like, we can do some really nasty stuff here, so let's do that. I'm just going to make guys here. I could tutor and put the cards into my hand, but I think it should be sufficient. And then I think about it further and decide, you know what, I can tutor and solve any problem, even if he goes Minsc and Boo here. There's no way he's beating it ad nauseum. So do I want to Naz or not? And I'm really on the fence about whether or not I want to ad nauseum here, or like just what. But I decide, you know what? I'm already doing the Tevesh thing. Let's just look at his hand and then decide. So let's start with Thoughtseize. Okay, Tinderwall, Ragavan. So he played this because of Ragavan. Next turn he can play Ragavan and then tap this thing. He can pump for mana. It's not the greatest, honestly. He's still missing. Yeah, But if he had left the Mana Vault untapped, it really wasn't helping him out. So there's just, I see why he did what he did. I don't know. I think I might have left it untapped, but it doesn't matter. So with that, with the fact that he's like clearly going to stumble on his next turn, I feel pretty confident to just go ahead and add Nas here. I could Inquisition another card and then, you know, do like something with that. But this is just, I'm just so far ahead. We might as well just bury him in cards and then slam the gates shut. And there's a GPS and a Death Cloud. I'm good. I'll just dump a bunch of cards here. Did I dump Vampiric? No, I didn't. Okay. Throw in Mind Twist and stuff. When your opponent has this much mana and a Mind Twist, it's pretty not good, you know. So he's got a Kenrith in his hand, and he's got he strip mined me, and he's got, you know, 1, 2, 3 mana there to try to get in this game somehow. But obviously, we know, you know, that's not happening here. All right, so we're gonna develop. I'm gonna tutor. Then I am gonna do the tutor trick. I'm gonna tutor it directly into my hand. I tutored for a Vandalblast. We'll just take out that Wasteland there. Did I tutor for Vandalblast? No, I tutored for Rollick, so that I could make the Wasteland play. So I could just take out his guy there. I think I misplayed here. I should have played Torque and then, you know, used the extra mana that, like, Torque would have meant I would have had 1 less mana, and I had exactly 1 extra mana that turn. So yeah, he's toast. We already know he's toast because his hand is Kenrith's Transformation and who knows what. But we're obviously, you know, we just clear the board here, throw down the statue, it's all over. All right, moving on to the last game though. And he knows I have the statue because of the ad nauseum, right? We'll wrap up the series against Minsc and Boo, against Chalk Nerds playing Minsc and Boo. In his first ever games of Magic the Gathering on Magic Online. So again, the one thing I want to state too is that while you can see like he's stopped making obvious, I don't see any obvious like interface errors. The amount of mental bandwidth that he has to waste remembering how to do all the actions in Magic Online, like thinking about where to click and what not to do and stuff, he's losing thinking, like processing power that he could be focused on thinking of his next play and what he wants to do there. So I just have an advantage just in the fact that he has to waste time thinking about that stuff. A great hand, if I'm going first, which I am, potentially, right? If he has a fast start, this hand completely falls apart. But otherwise it's pretty decent. So it's very risky, but I decide I'm gonna roll with it. Turn 2, you know, Dynamo. Turn 3, GPS with Dust Bowl running. Probably enough. Might be enough. Hard to know. Against the first turn, Soul Ring might not be enough. I drew a Chrome Mox, which is huge there, and realized how badly I screwed up. If I would have played turn 1 Workshop and just risked him having a Wasteland on it, then on turn 2, I could just go Traders, imprint the Mox, Godpharaoh's statue here. And I'm way better off if that happens. Instead, I'm just going to cast the Dynamo, and I'll just sandbag the Artisan since I don't know for sure that I want to use it. And I don't know that I want to expose my only red source, which when I need black, my red-black source, either. So, and turn 2 Minsc and Boo off a Soul Ring. Okay, there's an interface issue, right? So it should be a 4/4. That was clearly oh, correction. I thought it was an interface issue. He actually went the other route. He decided he was going to kill Rog here. Okay. This isn't bad. As we know, it actually hurts me quite a bit. I don't have the Guild Artisan mana next turn now. Assuming that I would be able to find a source of mana, colored mana, or a spell. But, yeah. Which I do find a very good spell, as a matter of fact. So, what do we do now? Very simply, let's do this first so that you can't misdirect. You can't deflecting swat the Angerous Rampage, which is target player, unlike Shieldred's. We'll definitely imprint the Artisanship here, make him sacrifice a Planeswalker, and had he made a 4/4 Boo, I'd still have my creature in play, but he'd have a 4/4 in play, so I don't know which I find to be better. I go ahead and play my commander here using City of Traders because there's a trick where I can play Dust Bowl next turn put the City of Traders sacrifice effect on the stack, and then sacrifice the City of Traders to the Dust Bowl. So I'm not super worried about that. Oh, for 3 mana, he plays a Tinderwell, so he's actually got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, and this thing costs 8. So just like that, he's threatening to get it back out again. Crucible could be good. It's not good right now. My commander could also be really good. It is always good, but do I play it? Yeah, absolutely. Let's play it and draw some cards. And then hopefully I'll draw some artifact mana. I can use the artifact mana and then play Dust Bowl and then Dust Bowl my opponent. Or I could draw some removal, would be really good too. No artifact mana, an intent I can't use just yet. So instead I'm not going to get to do the Dust Bowl trick because it's just too important right now not to be greedy. Let's just kill the Soul Ring immediately. We'll play the Crucible just so that I'm being efficient with my mana and pass for the turn. Alright, he ran in 6s and pings Tevesh Sat. Not really sure how I feel about that. Does get a Workshop in play. He doesn't know, of course, that I have Dust Bowl. But he has nothing to do with the shop there. I'll go ahead and make my Dorks, which I can now feed to my... I can Ritual and then feed them into the Tutor here. And from there... Yeah. Why mess around, man? I'm already way ahead. Let's just win the game. It's just 5 mana win the game. It's always win the game. I pay a bunch of life. I get a bunch of cards. Shadow Spear, Mox Amber, Calling the Weak. I'll slow down a bit, just so you can enjoy the turn. We'll Shieldred Edict my opponent. Get rid of that thing. Go ahead and play a Liliana. Activate Liliana. Throw away land that deals damage to me. Okay. I'm going to hymn my opponent. And that's about it for that turn. And I'm going to discard a bunch of lands because I have, of course, Crucible in play. I've got a Rollick and a Swat, so, I mean, you know, even if he has, like, there's very little he can do here. And he says, hey, thanks for the games. Have a good night. I say likewise. Finally, we've got this game against Aber. Snabber. And this one's pretty amazing. So this one has no more Shadow Spear. Now we've got Shieldred in it. And, man, this pretty damn good thing that I do, too. Pretty darn good thing, right? So I have to take a mulligan. He's playing Winota, Joiner of Forces. I don't feel like I played my best game here, but we'll see. I think that choice right there might have been a mistake. I could have kept... I don't know. I guess this is okay, right? You can see what I'm thinking, right? I'm just gonna go turn 1 Jessica's Will, Gilded Lotus, go Ape. Unfortunately, my opponent is going first and has turn 1 Sacred Foundry, Legion Loyalist, and a Lotus. So now the Jessica's Will only makes like a +1 mana. He hits me for a point of damage. I do fortunately rip a Dark Ritual off the top, so we're gonna go turn 1 Ritual 5. Gilded Rog. I'm going to go ahead and get 4 mana and hope that I hit something. I hit Shaku and Rakdos. That's pretty nice. So go ahead and play the Shaku, play the Rakdos. I even have 1 more mana if I want it. So let's untap and then play the Imperial Seal. And I'm feeling really good here. And I am, however, quite concerned because when he plays this thing, he's going to attack with this thing. He's going to play this thing, and then he can put humans, you know, he can put a human into play. There's a lot of nasty stuff out there. It'll be indestructible for the end of turn and stuff. He'll have a lot of threats. So the correct card to get here, and I knew it, and in my head I was like, I know what to go get here. This is easy, right? Is Death Cloud. You just go get Death Cloud and just win the game on the spot. But do I get Death Cloud or do I get greedy and cute? I decide, let's get greedy and cute. So I get a card that doesn't just win the game instantly. Opponent draws, plays Mana Crypt. This is just getting worse and worse. Dranith Magistrate, are you kidding me? And because of the Mana Crypt, has enough mana to then play his commander and hit me. And the cutesy card that I got, the Yawgmoth's Will, that was going to let me replay all of this and, you know, still Death Cloud. Yeah, I can't play that card, nor can I play my commander. I'm actually in a great position to lose this game because I got cute instead of being serious about the game. Very stupid. This is why you don't give your opponent any, like, don't get cutesy, don't win more, don't give your opponent leeway, just play well and win the game. And I did not do that here. I did not play well at all and deserve basically everything coming to me here. This thing finds this guy, which cannot be exerted until next turn, but when it exerts, he's going to get to untap all of his creatures and take a second attack phase, and of course that's 100% game over if that happens. So I am basically in mega dire straits, and I draw absolute nothing. So the best thing I can do here is Desperation Karn. I'm going to play Karn, and I'm going to do exactly as I've done. You've maybe seen me do in other videos. I'm going to call on Karn to save my butt. So we're going to make a 5/5 off the Gilded Lotus and just hope something happens. Like, you know, hope he swings in with the Magistrate. Like if he attacks with all, so he can get his second attack phase, then, you know, I block the Magistrate, take a massive beating maybe, and then block something else perhaps, and then win the game, but not looking good. He does not fall for that trap. There's no real incentive for him to attack with the Magistrate though, because this thing only triggers off the non-human, so this thing doesn't trigger it, but this does. However, this is going to let him get an extra attack phase if he exerts. And then, of course, there's this thing he finds. So, rough. I'm going to go ahead and kill the 4/1. Obviously, I can't have him continuously re-attacking me. And I guess he didn't exert, which is extremely strange to me. I don't know if it's a mistake or if this thing has to be in play. Yeah, no, he just didn't exert. I have no clue as to why that was his decision. All right, so I'm going to just make a blocker. I think about it and decide I'll play the land because if I ever get to will, I've got a land waiting for me. And my deck with like 20 removal spells and tutors, and I think I have 25 to 30 top decks here, I find a bad like every other card in my deck either gets me out of the situation or draws me more cards or whatever. Brutal. Alright, so this doesn't trigger it, but this does, so he's going to get another impulse into 6. This is just so insane. Mine's a Cathar Commando. This is just brutal. Now he gets to go get a card that costs 1 mana or less. He chooses, come on. Ginger Brute, another hasted non-human. Just brutal. I have to keep killing the non-humans, but I realize that like this is just too scary because it's going to prevent me from playing non-creature spells. But I forget the damn thing has indestructible. I'm so confused by this. Like, I needed to block this here. It was extremely critical that I blocked this here, and I screw up for the second time this game. Absolutely do not deserve to win this here. I do protect myself from taking like 3 damage. I think he was attacking me, but still. Huge error. Well, ad nauseum means that I have a possible way. Remember I said I have all these card drawing cards? Well, let's see what we can find here. My opponent responds by saying, hey, you can't cast any non-creature spells this turn, which a little late for that, but yeah, I won't be able to do much with the cards I find unless I find a Shieldred. Yay. So now I'm going to make Shaku into a creature and pass. Shieldred. I'm at 9 life. I'm taking a massive beating. Opponent is now... That life that he's lost from Crypt is now actually somewhat relevant. He plays an Esper Sentinel, a Ginger Brute. Now he's going to get to make 2 guys. He's going to send in with a bunch. Impulses, misses, impulses, hits. Face Breaker. Damn it. Okay. I'm going to then untap my Shaku. And I'm going to block, of course, both of the creatures that trigger his commander. And for some reason, he's swinging face, not at my Karn. So I get to kill both of those. I take well, I guess because I'm at 9, yeah. And then he gets his treasure, and then he uses the treasure and he exiles a land. So fortunately to the Facebreaker, so we don't have to deal with yet another card there. And then thanks to this guy, I'm going to draw and gain 2 life and still be in this game. So I'm at 7. Now, I don't play Saga here because I know he's got a Blood Moon effect in play, and it'll just immediately die. It'll be a Saga with no counters on it. They get sacrificed. So I'm just going to play a Dark Confidant here, make the Lotus into a creature. This is probably unnecessary. I probably should have made the Shaku a creature. Just because I am playing around a Blood Moon, and I am putting, like, triple black at risk, but I don't. And mainly because I wanted to be able to block this, but I have this guy, so it doesn't really make sense. Opponent takes 2 more, he's at 20. Cathar Commando destroying the Lotus. Had I been the Shaku, I would have been a lot happier here. Fortunately, I've got Deflecting Swat, so I can swap that to the Esper Sentinel and take care of a problem right now. So I'll do that, and his last card in hand is Deflecting Swat. Yuck. Okay. I mean, it's fair for me, it's fair for him, you know what I mean? That's just the way that it is. I do have 3 blockers, though, thanks to this not being Shadow Spear, it being Shieldred. Alright, so I think about how I want to block. This doesn't trigger, they're all human. Face, face, and face. I really want that thing to stop, to not provide him cards. But do I block with the Confidant here or not? And I'm really thinking hard about it. And I decide I'm going to take a risk. I really need to just find some freaking removal for the Magistrate so that I can slam Tevesh so that I can gain like 6 life off of, and Rog, and draw 3 and gain 6 life off of Shieldred and then be fine. So my opponent does get a treasure here, and I know he's going to sack it. He would sack it to Professional Vase Striker, but it's dead. And Karn will prevent it from being used for mana, so we're okay. Alright, the real question is, will I hit one of my 6 drops or something like that? And I don't. I find Vandal Blast, so still in this game. Right, and I gained some life, and I found Demonic Tutor. I think here I don't make the most intelligent play. The correct play here, Shaku taps for 1, 2, 3 mana, so we tap for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then play this, that's 10 mana. So I can tap for 10 mana, 3 to Demonic Tutor, because I want to pay for the Esper Sentinel. That leaves me with 7. Oh, I see why I didn't do it. I was thinking that I could tutor for and clear his board and go to 1 and then play my commander and then jump back up to 7 again. Oh no, I could. I clear his board. Sorry, I clear his board with Toxic Deluge. I deluge for 4, which incidentally kills the Confidant, which is good. So I kill everything, and I have 2 mana left, and I've never actually played Rog here, as I recall. Have I? Maybe I have. I guess I wouldn't work. Never mind. I wouldn't be able to play my commander, but I would be able to play Rog. I'd be at 2. He'd have 1 turn to kill me, and then from there I could, from there I'd be fine. I still think that would be the correct play, and it may actually be what I decide to do. So we're going to Demonic Tutor here. We'll find out what I choose to do. I get Rollick. I was thinking I had a commander in play, and then don't. So it's so painful here. I'm going to pay for that, literally. And then I screw up, realizing after Rollicking, paying full price, I make another screw up and play the Saga. I don't know why I was thinking that card was the Magus of the Moon. I was just all over the place. So go ahead and kill his Sentinel, plus and kill his Crypt, and pass for the turn. I've got 2 blockers I'd love for him to swing in. I don't want Confidant to kill me. I have another opportunity to die to it. Of course, he might get a haste creature. That could be bad, but we'll see. He's at 18, fortunately. Legion War Boss. He certainly does get a haste creature. And now he's going to proc his Winota. Thankfully, he doesn't send in anything else, which is such a gift. And he hits Zealous Conscripts, which then allows him to take Shieldred. And I have to chump block. Can you imagine if you would have just swung in? I just die here. Like, there's so many things that went wrong in this game. I misplayed ferociously, but so did my opponent, thankfully. And this was actually the last game of the night. I was misplaying so bad that I said, okay, I'm good. Top deck Death Cloud, which, is great when you're at 6. No, it's actually fine here. I'm just going to will. I'm finally going to will. So I'm going to finally get back to playing correctly. I'm going to Shaku pump the for mana. Karn away the Mox Diamond. and kill it. I'm going to then will play the Mox Diamond so that I can discard the land to it. And then I'm going to clear the board. Of course, we're going to Ritual. Pump some more mana. Come on. So Demonic Tutor, Toxic Deluge. Clear the board, right? Now I can finally play the Saga. I leave this thing at 1. I then play Rog, exile that thing. Oh, come on here. Imperial Seal. I might as well risk it for the biscuit. I'm already this low. And then we're gonna pump and play Jessica's Will. And I don't think this is the setup. I didn't have enough mana to Winter Orb here. So I just play Vandal Blast. This is not correct. The card I got was Mox Amber. These two cards, I don't know what they were. I went and got a Mox Amber because I might as well continue to produce additional mana on a turn where nothing else is happening. Is that really the card I went and got? That is incorrect. Is that incorrect? No, that's correct. So I went and got Mox Amber. It wasn't great. I didn't play this turn the best. I should have a Gilded Lotus in play, not a Mox Amber. But these two cards, I don't remember what they were. All right. So my opponent fetches. He does not draw his 6 mana. Is unable to make a play and passes. I start Dust Bowling him. I draw another fetch, some kind of a tutor. Which tutors have I used? I've used Demonic. Oh, I draw the Infernal Tutor. Oh, I remember what he draws now. My opponent draws Path to Exile. I'm at 1 life and he draws Path to Exile, and Shieldred goes away. And so my way to get back in the game next turn, obviously I gain 7 life. I gain 9 life next turn. 6 plus 2, 8 life. I gain 8 life next turn, plus whatever else depending on if I draw. So my ability to gain the 8 life and then Death Cloud and end this game, or whatever I want to do, goes away. He draws Path to Exile, pass this. I get a basic land, passes back to turn. I'm at 1. I draw Infernal Tutor. I tutor. I go get Strip Mine. I Dust Bowl him, Strip Mine him, and I think strip one of the basics. I think the Mountain or whatever. Dust Bowl away the other one. He draws, does nothing. I draw, Dust Bowl away the other card. Of course, I play Tevesh also, make some guys. And then from there, once I bowl him down a couple more times, my opponent goes ahead and scoops. It's going to bug out here, but not my finest hour, but a really interesting game, and it was a good showing for Tevesh. Plus, I had a great run against that great run against Minsc and Boo against an opponent who's operating on 3/4 bandwidth, where a quarter of it's just dedicated to the interface. And I suspect it will not go as well in future runs against my opponents, against Jock Nerds, because and we will have those because he'll be fully accustomed to Magic Online and being able to just give it his full focus. The question I have, and you've seen the games and how close they were, is whether or not this is enough life gain, just Shieldred. Whether or not we should include cards like Shadow Spear. Should we include, which is suitable with the Saga? Should we include Jete again, which is, the best life gain card ever printed and one of the best removal cards, but hard to use in a deck filled with 0/1 creatures? Or should we just leave it as is and just continue to rely on Shieldred and basically good playing to, not die? I don't know, but I'll be interested in your answers. And until then, hopefully you enjoy playing the deck if you are playing it, and hopefully you enjoyed watching it. And thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.